Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the show. This is the Creative Collaboration Show with Chuck Anderson, and this is the show that's all about helping you in your business and your career take that to the next level, whatever that is and what that means for you. And, a big part of running a company or managing a team is the dynamics of, the relationships that we have with our team members in terms of productivity and how we get along and and all of that. And when we're dealing with other humans, there can be the imperfect side of that. And so today's guest is an expert in that. We have Orville Ingram here with me today, and he is he's been mentored by John Maxwell. If anyone here is familiar with John Maxwell and their team of consultants, he is extremely knowledgeable and just a fun guy to be around. So Orville, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Chuck. It's quite a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
And I know it's been quite some time. We've been wanting to do this for a while, and you and I have known each other for several months now, and have been working together in other capacities. So we've gotten a chance to know each other, and now I want to share you with everyone else in our world and in our community. So I think a great place to start, Orville, is, I always do the light introduction, but, you introduce you. Tell everyone a little bit more about you and kind of what you do, and that'll be the launching pad for our conversation.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Chuck. My name is Orville Ingram, and I am the founder and CEO of Ingram Educational Consulting. We are, minority-owned business that specializes in leadership training, coaching, and development. Really targeting and focusing on the underrepresented groups of leaders, but really want to focus on individuals who are leading teams. So that's what I do. I'm a certified coach with the John Maxwell team, speaker, trainer, and a DEIB advocate.
Mm-hmm. So what I think a great follow-up question, what prompted you to go this direction? I know you do, you work with leaders and specific, and I think, to a more specific degree, minority leaders, but also, with your connection with the John Maxwell team. What was the origin story of this? How did it come to be that you're doing this work?
Funny enough, I've been in educational leadership for about 15 years now. Mm-hmm. And as an educational leader, I spend much of my time working with school administrators, and I've also worked with individuals in the corporate world. And for a number of years, I did that work and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed working with small groups of school administrators, leading them, helping them build their teams so that they can become productive and also effective teams. But around 2018, I decided that I wanted to branch out and started my own company. And I started Ingram Educational Consulting. And during that time of building, and this is a part that, you can't do anything by yourself. While I was building it, I had a business coach who had mentioned the John Maxwell team as a resource. And I said, well, I know the John Maxwell team because I read all of his books. While I was going through my leadership training and work, I knew of his work. So she connected me to someone who was certified by the John Maxwell team. And lo and behold, I became certified that same year. So I've been a part of the John Maxwell team since 2022, but I have been in business since 2018. So I love this work, and because of the transformative nature of it, to see individuals in leadership and working with their teams and helping them to build capacity within their teams, you get this sense of um, gratitude to know that you are, creating this transformation within people.
Mm, I love that. And so you're working with leaders who have teams and I think predominantly teams. What are some of the challenges that you are
Hmm.
either hearing or that these leaders are facing with their teams that either are they coming to you for help or are you helping to identify these problems? But what are some of the challenges that they are experiencing with their teams?
Well, most of the challenges that are coming up for our team members is that, disengagement. You have a lot of individuals within teams that are not happy. And the reason for that mainly is because people are not connected. People don't understand the leadership that of the manager. They don't understand what the vision is. They don't understand what the purpose of where they're going. So there's a lot of disconnect. Also you have people who become not only disengaged but frustrated. And then when they start getting frustrated, then they stop working, they stop producing. And if they're not producing for your business, then clearly you're not making profits. So a part of my work is to ensure that you have people who are engaged and people who are actually producing so that you can be profitable.
Mm, yeah. And that what kind of size of teams are we talking about here? Are these small teams, large teams? I mean, what are you seeing?
Most of the teams that I work with could stem from anywhere from 5 people to 50. And that is, a normal team that I would work with. Oftentimes we work with them as a whole team. And sometimes we, depending on the type of work, we may end up working with some of them in small cohorts or one-on-one if the needs be. But for the most part, 5 to 50 team members we work with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, is there the right time for a leader to sort of look for outside help? So, like bring someone like you in? Is it, I mean, I would imagine a lot of it is reactionary. So, like, I'm having this problem, please help,
Yes.
versus
Yes.
proactive, like, I want to avoid problems, so I'm going to bring you in.
Yeah.
What are you noticing there?
Well, one of the things I believe is that people have to be proactive, and you don't want to be reactionary because the fact of the matter is that once you start reacting to a problem, maybe it's so long gone. You want to be proactive. There is, a need for leaders to really not only develop themselves, but also develop the team members, in their care by developing their team members and constantly engaging them, you're going to have a more productive team. So it is important that you are not responding to something that happened in the team. Maybe you start having a mass exodus because members of your team are not satisfied with what's happening or doesn't understand the mission. You may have frustration over a change in management or a change in the organizational structure. You may have people who are disengaged because the profitability of the company is not there and they're not feeling a part of it, a part of the resource that's there. And also, we are individuals. We need to be personally and professionally developed. And a part of what we need is to feel a sense of purpose. So we want to be proactive in ensuring that we are addressing those needs of our team members. And by bringing in someone in like me early so that we can provide that support, then you have a solid team so you don't have to respond to negativity or to something that may happen later on.
Yeah, I love that. And I think in a perfect world we'd all be proactive and try to avoid certain situations. But I mean, I think the reality is that so many people are motivated by a today problem. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
something that, some sort of a trigger or an event that
Yeah.
just happened. I mean, what are you hearing from leaders who are in that category where they're reaching out to you because they're reacting? It's like, hey, this is happening right now. What are some of those things?
Well, some of the things that people are responding to, and we're living in a world where a lot of things are happening right now. And one of the things that's coming up more often is around diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Hmm.
Companies are struggling to really get a grip on how do they articulate the mission around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And by having that the challenge that exists, they are looking for support. They're looking for people who have the expertise, who can come in and support their team members, but they're also looking for people who can really have the conversation that they cannot have. And the reality is that we are in a space where there are civil rights issues happening. There are diversity and equity and inclusion. There are a lot of things happening where it's in society, but it's filtering into the workplace. And if we don't get a grip on it and acknowledge it, the mental health issues of our team members is a big part of it. And companies are also struggling to try to figure out how do we satisfy the full spectrum of our team members. We have diverse team members from, that are from different generation, different religion, sexual orientation, race, color, creed, so they have that. They're trying to figure out a way to satisfy all the needs of people on their team. So you need someone who obviously have not only the skill sets, but also the wherewithal to come in and to really assess and to help your team members, understand who they are, how to work together, and also to grow together.
Hmm. Yeah, that's extremely powerful. So so
Yeah.
let's say anyone listening in right now who might be experiencing some of these things with their
Yeah.
teams. I mean, what is some of your advice for them? Like, what are you recommending that leaders do? Maybe first on the reactive side, like when some of these problems happen, what do you do?
Right.
And then also, what do you do to prevent it?
Well, Chuck, the reality is that most people are reactive. But
Hmm.
so I want to go to the reactive side first because that's what happened. When you get to a stage where you recognize that something is wrong, or you become aware of an issue within your team, the dysfunctionality of your team, disengagement, you want to make sure that you respond to that. It is important that you don't take it for granted and not respond, because the fact that you're responding tells me that you are aware. And that's a good thing of a leader, to have that awareness. So that is a good thing for us to come in and do an assessment. One of the things that we do is not only team assessment, but also individual assessment. May use assessment tools like the DISC assessment to assess individuals and their communication styles, personality styles, and how that works into the full dynamic of the team. So when we recognize the issues, we come in and we try to figure out what can we do to ensure that individuals are feel connected, but they're also connected to their team members. On the proactive side, they can certainly take steps to ensure that their team members are always engaged and they're always developing. You want to get to a stage where you are always asking your team members, what can I do differently? What can I do better? How can I make sure that you feel a part of this team? When they feel connected, they're going to respond accordingly, and they're going to grow. So bringing in, someone like me to not, assess, do surveys, develop training programs for your team, workshops, retreats, to ensure that you have a cohesive team, that will definitely prevent some of the pitfalls later on and the frustrations that might come with team dynamics.
Well, I'm sure the timing of some of these challenges are not ideal. I mean, there's no perfect time,
No.
but but it's let's say you're on a very big project, and
Yeah.
there's tight deadlines, and that's the last time you want to have your team explode or implode, or
Hmm.
and because that's where you need everybody at their best. And I love what you
Yeah.
said, is that it's really about developing in developing individuals. Like, we all
Yeah.
grow
Yeah.
as individuals, but we also grow together as a team, in all of
Absolutely.
the various skills that help with that. And so, and it's not just how do we get the most out of ourselves, but how do we grow? Like, who are
Yes.
we becoming, and who do we need to become, right?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was just thinking about the idea of when we talk about leadership and leading a team, and we know that everything rises and falls on leadership. And if leaders are not aware of their team and themselves, then you're going to have these pitfalls. You're going to have these issues. So the goal is to just make sure that you are constantly locked into what's happening. You're constantly surveying your team. You're constantly asking for feedback, making sure that team members are on board with mission, the vision, and the products that you are producing. You want to make sure that they are aware of any changes that might be coming, because oftentimes people become different, feel disenfranchised, or feel upset about changes that are made that they weren't a part of, or they are blindsided by it. So leaders can take proactive steps to ensure that team members are in the loop and they feel connected to each other within the team members.
Yeah, and in order to do that, I mean, the theme of this show is, creative collaborations, and
Mm-hmm.
what I hear you describing is a very collaborative process. I mean, as a
Yeah.
leader, we have to, have these types of collaborative relationships with the members of our team, so that
Yeah.
we are able to
Absolutely.
communicate, so we
Mm-hmm.
are able to check in and do all of these things. So,
Yeah. Absolutely.
yeah. So what is that? So I mean, what does collaboration look like, maybe for the leaders that you work with, and what are some
Ah,
of what's some of your advice there?
when it comes to collaboration, I think the most important thing is to understand what's in it, for not only for you, but for the other person or the other entity that you're collaborating with. We have to be selfless about our collaboration. What I find most time is that not only companies, but you have small businesses that they're competing with each other. And if they can only find a way to not compete, but find a way to collaborate, they'll get more out of that, and it will be more impactful in terms of collaboration. Um, we all can sell the same product, but at the same time, we can find a way to impact our individual audience. So collaboration for me is really around looking at what is it that will be beneficial not only to me but also to the other person, and the impact that it will make. So collaboration is key in this business world.
Hmm. And I know there's all sorts of different leadership styles. I mean, some are more,
Yeah.
have more authority and use that
Yeah.
authority in terms of dictating outcomes
Yeah.
and tasks and deliverables and all of those things. And a collaborative approach is one where it's we're not telling our teams everything they need to do, but we're really
Yeah.
working with our teams. And so,
Mhm.
um, is there anything you're noticing in terms of leadership styles that kind of, that maybe either are contributing to the problem, or proactively uh,
Yeah.
preventing these types of problems?
Um, well, there are different levels of leadership, and we don't want to people grow along the different levels of leadership, and if they uh, depending on you'll have someone who is more authoritative in their approach. That person more than likely is not going to be very collaborative. That's going to be like a top-down leadership style.
Mhm.
So you just want to tell your team members what they need to do, and you expect them to do it without much pushback. That is not going to get much traction. You need someone who is, certainly looking at leadership from the perspective of, servant leadership. I'm here to serve you, and you will do the work because you are feeling impacted by it, and they will serve you well. Servant leadership gets more done and gets more people to do work in a manner that is going to be not only collaborative but even more impactful. So top-down leadership does not work. Servant leadership does.
I love that. Well, speaking of collaboration, I think
Yeah.
one of the reasons that I wanted to have you on this show is because you yourself is a great person to partner with and to collaborate with, and to be
Sure.
a resource with anyone who either is struggling with their team or is looking to be proactive with their team. And I know that there's leaders out there who have embraced self growth and personal development. And, I know that's a lot of what the Maxwell philosophy is. I know that's what a lot of your philosophy is. We grow ourselves in order to get a better result. And we can't always force people on our team to do what we want them to do, but us ourselves, we can learn to grow and become more influential. And I like to be the kind of leader that people want to work with, and not it's like, oh God, here he comes again, right? And so it's like, here we go. So maybe share a little bit about how, what is that approach, and what are some of the next steps for leaders listening in terms of working with you, and some of the steps that you'll take together.
Well, some of the steps that they can take is certainly first and foremost to reach out and schedule a call with me so we can discuss and create a strategic plan of action for you. Let's talk about what are some of the issues that you're experiencing on your team. That's one of the first things. In order for us to really have a collaborative effort, we need to be open and receptive to support. And if a leader can become aware of an issue and or want to grow their team, by all means, let's have a call. Let's have a strategy call, and we can definitely talk about that and see how I can help.
Mm. That's I think a really natural next step. And by the way, if you would like to connect with Orville, and you're watching this on video, I've got all of his contact information and all of his links right beneath this video. And
Absolutely.
if you're listening to this on a podcast, of course, you're going to find everything all right there as well. And I know from time to time you have workshops and things going on. We'll link to everything there. But really, the best thing to do is just get on a call, and discuss it directly. I always think taking that direct approach is the best way, right? And so
Absolutely.
anything else, any other tips or advice you want to kind of add to leaders in that are listening in right now, that in terms of growing themselves and working with their teams, and just anything that we've talked about so far?
Think my one of my I would not my final advice, but advice to leaders is to embrace leadership and embrace the journey with humility and openness. uh, it's not a finality when you become the owner of a business or you're leading a team. You always have to be willing to grow and to recognize that effective leadership in diverse environments is a continuous process. So, leaders just need to be very open, receptive, embrace it with humility, and just, try to adapt and understand. So that's what I would suggest for leaders to do. That way, they'll have a more collaborative team and a team that is effective and profitable.
Yeah, I love that. Is there any particular, personal growth, uh, I mean, in terms of skill development or,
Hmm.
things that leaders should really look towards developing in themselves or growing in themselves that are,
Yeah.
probably common to most leaders that would
Hmm.
really help with this?
Yeah. Well, one of the things is that you have to be very self-aware, and as a leader, you need to be aware of your own leadership styles, and in order to do that, you need to be aware of your own, strengths, your challenges. One of the ways we do that at Ingram Educational Consulting is to use our DISC assessment. But leaders just need to understand their strength. I would also recommend some books that they could use to start their journey. One of the ones that I really like is Mindset, The New Psychology of Success by Carol Dweck. I think that's a great book to kind of develop that mindset of understanding what it means to have a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. And I think Carol Dweck does a really good job in kind of making that distinction and providing resource. Another one, I think, Dare to Lead by Brené Brown. I think that's a great book for leaders to really dive into and really just kind of like suck up all the resources and to help them to just become better leaders and become a leader that is really uh, focused and inclusive in their practice. So those are two books I would recommend, and also to be very self-aware.
Mm. Though I love those recommendations, not only because they're good recommendations, but I've read them both. So,
Good, good, good.
mindset was, I would
Yeah.
say, very eye-opening. It was, and it gave me a lot of insight
Yeah.
as to how the learning styles work and also the
Hmm.
personality styles. And it gave me great insight. Any
Yeah.
client or team member that I've ever had a challenge with, I
Yeah.
instantly go, oh, okay.
Hmm.
First of all, do I have a growth mindset or fixed mindset?
Right,
And
right.
any times I had maybe conflict or maybe we didn't work together as well, and there could have been that growth mindset versus fixed mindset at play as
Yeah.
well. And it was just even in my kids, right? And so, and then how do I nurture the growth and stuff? So I really,
Yeah.
really appreciate that book. And Dare to Lead. I mean, anything by Brene Brown. I mean, she's just absolutely amazing. And I just find her extremely inspirational in terms
Yes.
of and down to earth too, because she's not perfect, and she'll tell you that in her book. I mean, so much of it is from her journey and through some of the mistakes that she has made. And I think that's sometimes what happens when we have mentors and we learn from other leaders is that we put them up on a pedestal, and it's like, oh yeah, you have all your stuff together. But Brene is just so real with
Yeah, she is so much more authentic. And you can put them on a pedestal, but you have to remember that they do wrong or they do make mistakes. And she has demonstrated that, you have to be authentic and be real about what you're talking about so that people can actually see themselves in what you're providing them with. So I like her for that. And I just but I would be remiss if I did not mention one book that I've read so many times over, and it provides me it's like a roadmap to personal growth, and it's the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth by John Maxwell, because that's a book that I use not only in trainings but also in my coaching, and I know that it's one of the books that I really enjoy and tap into all the time because it gives you such a wealth of information on how to really develop yourself from a personal level so you can move into that professional space more authentically.
Well, I have the links to all these books here beneath the video
Yes.
and in the podcast show notes. I have not read that particular book from John. I mean, John has so many books that
Oh,
it's going to take me a while to get through all of them.
a
The one
lot.
I read was Sometimes You Win, Sometimes You
Sometimes
Learn,
you learn. Yep.
and which is an amazing book,
Yes.
especially for those of those who hate to lose.
That is
Great book
right.
for that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I won't ruin the surprise, and or actually you'll learn it in the first chapter. Really, what he's
Yes,
talking
you
about
do.
there.
Yes, you do. And they
Yeah.
have the kids version too, because I have the book, I have the adult version, the teenage version, and the kid version. So I
Oh
have all
wow.
three. Yeah. So
Oh,
it's
I'm gonna
really
have to
good
check
book.
those out. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. They have
Not that
all
my
three.
kids will read any of the things that I recommend, but I'm definitely gonna check it out. So
Absolutely. But they're great books.
yeah, they are. So Orville, thank you so much. I mean, this has been, a great time well spent. I mean, you've been generous with your, content and your advice, and I think what I really like about you is that you're very authentic and real when we're working together, and I know that's what people will come to experience when they reach out to you as well. And again, if you're still listening to us, link is right beneath this video. Go book a time to speak with Orville, and whether you end up working together or not, there's going to be some great insights from a very, I would say, generous and kind and giving man who can help you in so many ways. Um, so as we bring this episode to a close, Orville, I just want to again say thank you. And if you had any last words of wisdom or piece of advice for our listeners as we end this episode.
Well, the last thing I would want to say is just to be so self-aware that you become even more authentic with your team. Understand that leadership is not a one-stop shop; it's a journey. Embrace it and embrace it with humility. So I love working with leaders. I love working with teams, and I look forward to hearing from you about that call, and then we can have a conversation in how we can make you and your team better.
Excellent. Well, let's make you and your team better. I think excellent words to end this episode by. So thank you to our audience. Thank you, Orville. And I just want to say, make sure that this has been time well spent for you. Go ahead and take something that you learned here today and take action on it today. Maybe it's some of the advice that Orville has shared. Maybe it's just to book a call with him. Do something. Take some positive action towards the outcome that you want. And remember, keep moving forward despite the things that happen. And you might just be one good collaboration or partnership away from the results and the outcome that you want to generate. And that's really why we do this. So in the meantime, thank you, and be sure to check out our future episodes, and have a great time, and keep moving forward, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Bye bye.